How you doing, Chief?
I'm alright, man. Thanks for having me.
You cut your hair?
Yes. Like most times, I was bored. And also, it's my birthday next week, so I just felt, maybe a new look.
You're always bored, though. Really?
Yeah, because I do so many things that when I try to rest, it just creates boredom. So I'm trying to get used to. The older I get, the more I try to get used to the boredom because it's okay. I worked throughout my 20s that it's affecting the way I rest now. Like I was supposed to go on a holiday and I was panicking. I don't know if
Panic attacks?
Yeah, going on a holiday because I was like, so I'm going to leave my business, people. I'm learning. So I'm learning to allow myself to be bored.
What would you describe yourself as right now? Because you do a lot of things, you wear many hats.
Well, usually I just say an entertainment, because I used to say music business executive, but I'm doing more than music. So I just say an entertainment executive. There's no real term, depending on who I'm talking to or what I'm pitching, I'm different things.
But how would you like to go down though? In like say 70 years when you're doing your birthday? In like 30 years when you're doing your birthday?
The guy who opened doors. I always say this thing that the true test of power and influence is in its distribution, right? So it's all well and good that I have money or that I have a successful career. How many successful careers came through me? How many other millionaires came through me? It's amazing when my students reach out to me and say things like, oh boss, I have one opportunity, I think it might benefit you. It's amazing when I get news that one of my students is now, or my mentees, one of my mentees is now
works at Spotify.
Works at Spotify, works at Dondo, works at, it's amazing to see. So that I opened doors. That's what I want to be remembered as.
MBA for Africa, right? It's last year you had 170 students.
We had a total of 190. I think 192. But 170 did the full program. Yeah, the rest did particular modules. They picked modules, but the majority, 170 did the full program. So
what you're going to be doing right now over the next, say, 20 years, you're going to have a lot of people. You're going to have people everywhere in the entertainment industry in Africa.
That's the plan. That's the plan. And when I say have people everywhere, it's not like I'm...
You want to explore it, the situation.
But the idea is to have an industry where people are informed, and I'm part of the pipeline for that.
Let's go a little bit back, right? So, Chief, let's roll back a little bit. You started off as an artist. Is that correct?
Yeah. Please don't tell me you have any of the songs.
Someone I know does have songs.
Well, I have one Dosage.
Which one?
Sage now, 1 RPM.
Okay.
I have begged her and warned her, and none of it can come out.
It's not even Dosage.
DJ Clem?
I'm not telling you.
Hi.
I'm not going to tell you.
Because Clem was my producer. Let me see, who else? Robba, Clem, Temi Gomez, Osage. Who else would have my music? That's them, Jerry.
Okay, I've told you. So the laptop I had last year, September, I laughed. I was like, what? It was wild. But the thing is, what made you quit?
It wasn't for me. People told me I was a good rapper. I even got a record deal. But it wasn't, you identify, depending on what you want to do. My family, I'm a breadwinner, right? So all that is nice, but we didn't have the patience. Or I personally didn't have the patience. I also needed to go back to school. So I needed a job to support that, so yeah.
You are quite young though. So when did you start in this industry?
I started rapping at 13, 12, 11. Got a deal by 15 or so, yeah, about 15, 16. Kel used to be on the same label. And then went back to school, went to teach. I was teaching government studies in secondary school, government studies in SS1 and JSS 3 English language. And then I left for UNN. So, between that time, then I came back. 11, but management, I started management at 21.
That's very early.
Yeah. But at 21, I was PR and marketing manager at an events company called Fruition Image Consulting and Events. I had good clients, British Telecoms, Nokia, a bunch of people, but that was where, as boredom happened. I've told the story so many times, but I called Osage, told her I was bored. She was like, okay, if you're bored, okay. 2 weeks later, she called me, are you still bored? I was like, yes. Like, I want you to meet an artist, send me the music. It was Chant Down Babylon and Crowd Mentality. Met MI twice. I think we met 2 times. By the end of the second time, I wrote my resignation and quit the next day.
Do you like the fact that people call you an OG right now?
Not really. I think we had this conversation before.
We had it off camera before.
Yeah.
Or we're going to have it on camera.
Not really. I don't. It's cool, but I'm still in that phase of doing, and I feel like when people start feeling comfortable with the term OG, they lose the desire to do more. Like sometimes I feel lazy, if not anything. Just thinking about, okay, what's the next step? Now, for instance, we've built MBA to this point. Now we have a program director, we have this team like 10 people strong. I can go build something else, right? So I think I'm still in that phase of doing. I'm not at the phase where I've done. OGs have done, right? I haven't done, and I'm not done yet. So for me, it's continuing to do what I do in many capacities. And then I can then sit back and say to myself, all right, I've done this. I can then look at all the people that have gone through doors I've opened. I can then look at people who have made millionaires. I look at people who have developed and, they've started their own lives, and whether it's families, whether it's business, then I can chill.
When did the idea for MBA come to you though? Because when you came for 10 years as a learner, you probably don't remember this, he's interviewed you.
Yes.
And when he's interviewed you, I think you mentioned something about, it's cool, mentioned some other solutions, everything is on pause. And then when you had the conversation with MI at Silverback Galleria, you also mentioned something about that. So was it then that the idea hit you?
No. So it wasn't called MBA for Africa. It was an internship program. So I think 2016, I started this online sessions. So here's what happened. I met my lawyers. I had a meeting with my lawyers, and they looked at my company and said, shut it down. Yeah. Part of the reason for that was I wasn't doing anything properly. So I had spent 8 years in the industry, but I wasn't doing anything properly, nothing. So it was off. So I had to go sit back and look at what I was doing. And then I got angry. I got angry, not just myself, but at a few people that came before me. Because I'm learning these things from you. So is it that you weren't teaching me the right thing, or you didn't know, right? And I wasn't sure what it was. And so I decided to channel that anger and said to myself, okay, instead of being angry, if I'm this angry at a few people, imagine how angry the younger guys would be at me if they sit back and they go through this and maybe copy whatever I'm doing and then get it wrong 8 years into their career. So I started the MB, as it was called Music Business Series with GT, with Godwin Tom on Twitter. We did that. We did about 3 or 4 episodes, and then about 5 episodes, and then I was like, okay, let me talk. So because I was curious, I wanted to know how are people across the continent seeing what we're doing. It wasn't as if I had a lot of money. So I did Uyo, Abuja, Ibadan, Lagos, obviously, Kampala, Johannesburg, and Accra, 2017. And, I realized that we were similar in a lot of ways. So I came back and I started an internship program. Well, I was looking for staff, but I found out that every time I hired somebody, I had to unteach them everything
they knew.
and then teach them new things. So I went out to do the search. I put out, so I'm looking for an assistant. I think 180 people applied. And then I had to have meetings in batches. Then I selected 2 people, but it was for an experiment. So I did, one guy was already in the industry. I'd been in the industry for years. The other lady, totally new, complete novice. And so I hired both of them. And guess who survived?
Who? The lady?
Yeah. And I'll tell you why. So the guy, whilst the young lady was learning, he was unlearning, right? A lot of things that he was used to and comfortable with were not working for me. And so I had to strip that knowledge down and then start teaching him. But she just went through the process of learning everything and knowing what she needed to do. So I realized that we needed to do a lot. So that's where the internship program came in. Then we did the talent management training, and then that morphed into, like, the talent management training became a bit, I increased the fee. I wanted it to be a bit more intense.
Branded.
And then Corona hit. And 2020, I'm sitting in the bathroom. So my wife and I have this thing we do every morning. We just start our day talking to each other, sometimes up to an hour. We just chill. So we're chilling, we're in the bathroom, and I'm like, I have an idea. What do you think about MBA? She's like, MBA?
What? Masters?
Right. I was like, no. Like, Music Business Academy for Africa. But it's, because it's MBA, it
the brand
says
is there.
what we need to do. And she was like, oh, that sounds nice. So immediately as soon as she gave me approval that she liked it, because that's the only person's opinion that I care about. As soon as she gave me confirmation that she liked it, I got on my desk, took the name on Twitter, bought the domain, did the Instagram name. I just took everything, and then I called the graphics guy and I was like, all right, here's a brief. I need a logo, I need a website. And literally started we had this conversation in May, and then in April. And then I did a 3-phase approach. So the first phase was the boot camp. So I tested out my modules and what I wanted to do online because I've been doing it physically.
Yeah.
So I tested an online one. 140 people registered. It blew my mind. And then we announced the academy, which was a test run of the academy, 3 modules, etc. That was in August 2020. 160 people registered for that. So I'm like, okay. So we then I decided, all right, let me put my money in and go full throttle on this. So MBA 21 came. Yeah, so we're here now.
How many modules was MBA 21?
6.
Okay, what are the 6?
So there was introduction to music business in Africa. So that has history of music business in Africa, entrepreneurship, finance basics, and we had a session on taxation. And then the second module is on the industries of the music business. So the recording industry, publishing industry, live industry, and interactive industry. Then we had music and the law, which is now intellectual property. So on that one, we talked about IP valuations, we talked about contracts, trademarks, etc. And then we had marketing, A&R, the stakeholders in the development of an artist. And then we had marketing, and then we had touring and events. So this year, we've added management to the A&R, so it's management and the A&R. The music and the law is now intellectual property. And then we've added production 101 and monetizing music. So there are 8 modules this year.
Any physical classes?
There will be a few. We realized last year people didn't get to meet each other until graduation. So we want to fix that this year. We want to have some sessions. It'll still be a hybrid, but some sessions, because we have students from Canada, etc. So we'll do a hybrid, so we get people to actually meet each other. So if there's a significant amount of people in a particular region, maybe in Ghana, or we'll find partners to ensure that we can get them in a room so they know each other and they interact with each other.
So how do you select the people that create the syllabus for some of these modules?
So we work with Professor Carlos Chirinos from New York University. So he's very, very instrumental in helping us develop not just the curriculum, but the learning outcomes of each topic that we're trying to teach. So what are we trying to get out of it? Those learning outcomes literally is the bone of the program, because that's how we determine what the guests are going to talk about. That's how we determine what the recorded classes will look like, because we are following what we want them to learn. We want to ensure that at the end of the program, that is what they know.
So how much are you charging them this year?
The same as last year, 120K. Yeah.
But what is it? Is the so a lot of people are going to be open-minded. A lot of people want to apply for it this year because it's bigger this year. There's more conversation. The branding is crazier this year. Are you turning down applications?
No. So I had a conversation with a few people and they were like, how are you going to reach everybody? And I said, we did it last year. What we're doing, there will be 7 groups. So let me break it down. So there's something called the Talent Project. The idea of the Talent Project is to ensure that the students get something to practice. So they're not just learning and learning, so they practice. So we bring real life artists, right? And this year we're giving them a real deal, right? But we're not tying them to anything. They're gonna have the chance to walk away if they want after the program. So what we're doing with the Talent Project is we're gonna break the students into 7 groups, because we're looking for 7 artists this year. So break them into 7 groups. Each group will have its own department. So there will be a management team or department, publishing department, A&R department, legal department, etc. for all 7 groups. Those 7 groups will work together to create a company, right? Now, each company is going to represent their artist. So what that does is there is a place for everyone
to contribute to that.
Contribute to the program. So the idea behind that is you're not just learning something, some random concept, right? You are actually seeing how it's applied. And that is what we are trying to achieve. So even if you have 300 or 500 people, everyone is participating and everyone is learning. Also bear in mind that people attend the program for different reasons. So our survey showed us the different reasons people engage. So you have people who come in for the knowledge. Some people, their brothers are about to do music and they just want to know what their family member is getting into. So I'm going to go learn this thing, understand how this music industry works. I had a few bankers that came. I think a particular bank sponsored like 10 people because they were doing some research to come into the music industry and they needed some way and they didn't have any other place to go to learn about the industry. So they paid, I think 11. Universal, when they were trying to hire a new set of people, they had about 14 people, all 14 registered for the program. So there is, there are those different people, but then there are the people who are like, okay, this is a career for me. And so I'm going here to learn about publishing. Or I'm going here to learn about marketing. I'm going to learn about management. Or I'm going to learn about all of these things and figure out where I fit. And that is really those are the guys who we've created the program for. But the other guys can also benefit from all we've done.
You're creating like a cash cow here, right? Like in terms of like the success rate.
Well, I hope so.
It is.
I mean, I hope. I'll tell you why I hope so. Because the original idea wasn't money, right? Because I had the thing I was doing that was making money. The original idea was, how do we eat? How do we get young people to eat? How do we get young people to create opportunities for themselves? And how do I not have people who are angry with me?
So we hired a program director, right? That's your first hire. The first major one.
Yeah.
What made that the right person, the right fit for you?
So Liz was on the board last year. And part of the reason why she was on the board was I needed a young voice. So I had a lot of veterans. I had, obviously, Dr. Carlos Chirinos. I also had Kienda Hoji, who's the assistant head of School of Arts at Westminster University. I had Baku Tubman, who was in the management team for Violators and Family Tree. So between those two companies, she'd managed Missy Elliott, Macy Gray, Outkast.
The name of the founder of the company, the one that died, the late guy.
Can't remember his name. But basically she worked there. We have Rudy Kweke from Ghana. We had Panji Anof. We have Fola Tunji Davis. David. We had a Cynthia Kweku as well from Ghana. We had a very unique set, but I needed a young voice to also be part of the board. So I invited her and she agreed. But during the course of that, I could see how interested Elizabeth was in Africa, in the music, in process, in culture, in how people did things. And then I also looked at how she did things as well. And it was intriguing for me. So when she told me she was going to do a master's in African studies, I was like, you know what, go. And so I was looking at, okay, so what's the next step for MBA? We need a team. We need some, I don't have a degree in education, right? I need somebody who's going to run this thing, but somebody who also cares, because it's not about money. I can't afford to pay people the money that they truly deserve. So the person has to care, and Elizabeth cares. So I had a word with her. I asked her if she was interested, and she was excited about it, which shocked me, to be honest, because it's a lot of work, and she saw the work that I did last year. She saw what I was going through. And so when she agreed, I was like, all right, let's do it. So, yeah.
Would you still consider yourself to be an artist manager?
No, to be honest, the only people that I manage per se are SDC and BBNaija. So I wouldn't say that and even with Palm Wine Fest, I'm getting to that point where we're pretty much partners now. We're like, oh, how much do we need? How do we put money together? And we do, okay, what did you put? Here's your money. Here's some interest as well. So I don't think I do management as much. The only reason, to be honest, why I do management is because of my personal mantra, even for MBA. So we say this thing, those who can teach, those who can't. Those who can do, those who can't teach. That's a popular saying. We usually say those who can should teach what they do, right? And so the reason why I've stayed in management is I don't want to be talking to my students and tell them what I was doing when I was managing MI, right? I want to be able to say, last year we did this strategy for Palm Wine Fest, and this is how we're able to pull out a sold-out show in London, right? I want to be able to say that to students and not get into this space where it's just this, oh my God, 10 years ago. I was this guy 10 years ago. Look at what I did 5 years ago. So that's why I continue to do something in the industry. And that's our mantra. Everybody who comes to speak, all the faculty, the guests, are people who are active
in the industry. So going forward, right? What's the big dream for you and MBA to you?
A resource center. The whole idea became bigger for me when I went to the UK for my master's. I wanted to go to the UK for my master's. I picked the school. I was ready to go. Then I had a conversation with some members, of the faculty, and I realized that everything I was going to learn wouldn't be useful here. It was very useful information, but I still have to adapt it here. And I already knew some of these things. So I felt, okay, let me come back to Africa and find a university in Africa that offers music business as a course so that the information is more relevant to our market. I didn't find any. Over 1,200 universities in Africa, not one.
That's crazy.
Offers music business as a course.
That's crazy.
And so I just thought, we'll do it. So that's really where it started. So for us, it's like we want to remain that vocational platform, that platform that will teach you how to do it, but give you the opportunity to practice, right? So that's our focus. So it's from here, the next step is how do we duplicate this into other sectors of the industry? But more importantly, how do we create a safe space? There's something very important to me, which is the Women's Fund. I've had to sit in and talk to a lot of parents, for a lot of girls, to say, no, allow your child work in the entertainment industry. I'm happy to sit in as, a guardian and watch over them or whatever you need me to do. And those young ladies have flourished, right? So for me, it's being able to create that safe space for competence to be the main driving force, not your gender, not the person you know, but your competence. And I think once we're able to finish what we're doing now online and then be able to put physical presence to it, a resource center is the best place to go.
Are there any plans that have students make sessions?
Yes, so last year we had that plan. It didn't work out the way I really wanted it to work out. So these are conversations we're having now. Chartmetric is open, Sony is open, Universal's open. A few people, well, I don't know about this year, but I know they were open last year. I think Boomplay, Chocolate City, Maven, a bunch of companies are quite open to the idea of recruiting, and a lot of them have been recruiting from MBA anyway. So it's just formalizing, because if I start doing that, then I want to also sit in and ensure that the contracts are fair that are being given, which means I need to develop an HR arm of the business. So there's some work involved there, but it's something we want to get into eventually.
Final question, do you think you'd leave MBA to go do a job at another company?
Yeah, I can. Look, I believe in building things, right? But I also believe in building things that last. And you can't build anything that lasts if it's too tied to you. So you need to be able to, remember I said the true test of power and influence is that you can distribute it. So my chief of staff is one of my best students from last year. My head of admin is one of my students from last year. My head of the social media manager, one of my old students from last year, right? So for me, it's they've seen how the system works. They know what they need to do. The next step is the guy who has been doing my website graphics work was part of the internship program in 2017, right? The guys who run Double Cis, all three of them are my students.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Kola was my student. Benga was the first one.
Yeah, no.
Benga was in the internship program. Kola was my student in 2018, and Orolua was my student in 2019.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that is the power of what I'm trying to achieve. That's the value of what we're trying to do. So I'm not trying to build MBA so I can hold it. I'm building MBA so it can be run and it can be successful and it can change lives and it can impact people. So that's the goal. So as I said, I built this. If the next journey for me is building in a company, why not? Because we keep talking about how, these companies are doing this, but okay, then go in and have the conversation and guide them through the process. Because genuinely, when you talk to a lot of these companies, what they're thinking about, if I'm being honest with you, is we need somebody who understands this place and knows what to do. Not just understands the market, but can also interpret it to us as well.
And merge it with some of our values.
Exactly. So it's because they're businesses at the end of the day, they're trying to make money. But what you want to do is create an enabling environment so that local businesses succeed as well. Local businesses succeed as well. And that's where there's a symbiotic relationship and everybody benefits. But we can't do that if people are not informed and educated.
Chief, thank you for coming. What are our social media handles?
Godwin Tom, everywhere. It's Godwin Tom, MBA for Africa, everywhere. On Facebook and LinkedIn, it is Music Business Academy for Africa. But everywhere else is at MBA for Africa.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Thank you.